Your mind is under attack, and most people don't even notice. There was a time when losing focus felt personal. You blamed yourself for it. You thought maybe you lacked discipline. Maybe you were too lazy. Maybe your mind just was not as strong as it needed to be. But what if that is not the full story? What if the real problem is not that you are weak? What if the real problem is that you are living in an environment designed to fracture you? Think about that. You wake up, and before your feet fully touch the floor, your attention is already being negotiated. A notification, a headline, a message, an update, a recommendation, a new urgency, a new distraction dressed as something important. And little by little, day after day, something sacred gets worn down. Your ability to stay with one thought. Your ability to remain present long enough to build something meaningful. Your ability to think without interruption. Your ability to hear your own mind clearly. That is not small. That is not just a productivity issue. That is a spiritual issue. Because your attention is not just a tool. It is your life. Whatever gets your attention gets your energy. Whatever gets your energy starts shaping your days. Whatever shapes your days starts shaping your future. So when your attention gets scattered, your future gets scattered. That is why this matters so much. There are people right now trying to fix their life with better planners, better routines, better motivational videos, and better hacks, while the deeper issue remains untouched. Their mind has been trained to break contact, trained to leave, trained to switch, trained to skim, trained to react, trained to abandon depth for stimulation. And they are trying to build a deep life with a fractured attention span. That is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. You can keep pouring effort in, you can keep making promises, you can keep setting goals. But if your attention leaks all day, your power leaks with it. So the question is no longer just, how do I become more productive? The real question is, who taught my mind to live like this? Because this did not happen by accident. You did not wake up one day and decide to become mentally fragmented. This was trained into you through speed, through overload, through constant access, through environments that reward reaction more than reflection. And the more you live inside that, the more normal it starts to feel. That is the scary part. Chaos starts feeling normal. Interruption starts feeling normal. Mental noise starts feeling normal. Being pulled in 10 directions starts feeling normal. So now when you sit down to do one thing with depth, it feels uncomfortable. Not because depth is wrong, because your nervous system has been retrained to expect interruption. Silence feels strange. Stillness feels slow. Single tasking feels unnatural. That should tell you something. If peace feels foreign, then noise has been discipling you. If focus feels hard, then fragmentation has become your environment. And your environment always trains you, whether you realize it or not. This is why some people are exhausted before they have done anything important. Not because they are lazy, because their mind has been busy all day without ever becoming useful. Busy scanning, busy checking, busy reacting, busy consuming, busy bouncing from one tiny stimulus to the next. That is not focus. That is cognitive drift. And drift is dangerous because it creates the illusion of engagement while stealing your ability to create. You can spend an entire day mentally active and still build nothing. Why? Because attention was spent but not directed. That is the modern crisis. Not that people are doing nothing, that they are doing too much that leads nowhere. Too much input, too much reaction, too much access, too much mental traffic, and almost none of it deep enough to change a life. That is why at the end of the day, so many people feel strangely empty. They were stimulated but not fulfilled, occupied but not effective, busy but not aligned. And the tragedy is, many have started confusing stimulation with aliveness. If it is fast, they feel engaged. If it is loud, they feel awake. If it is constant, they feel important. But real growth often does not feel like that. Real growth is quieter. It asks you to remain, to stay with one task, to think one thought all the way through, to sit in the awkwardness of depth long enough for your mind to become sharp again. That is harder now than it used to be, not because people got worse, because distraction got smarter. And if distraction has become smarter, then your defense must become stronger. That means focus is no longer just a nice habit. It is a form of protection. Protection of your calling, protection of your peace, protection of your creative life, protection of your inner world. Because if you do not decide what deserves your attention, something else will decide for you. And most of what competes for your attention does not care about your future. It only wants your eyes for a few more seconds, your click for a few more moments, your curiosity for one more scroll. But those seconds add up. They become hours. Hours become patterns. Patterns become identity. Identity becomes destiny. So no, this is not just about screen time. This is about who your mind is becoming in the presence of constant interruption. Are you becoming deeper or just more reactive? Are you becoming clearer or just more stimulated? Are you becoming harder to shake or easier to distract? Those questions matter because the strongest people in the next decade will not simply be the most talented. They will be the least fragmentable, the people who can hold attention, hold thought, hold vision, hold discipline, hold silence long enough to do meaningful work. In a distracted age, depth becomes a competitive advantage. But more than that, it becomes a personal advantage because a focused mind feels different. It feels cleaner, stronger, less crowded, less frantic, less available to nonsense. And people with that kind of mind start moving differently. They choose better, work better, speak better, listen better, build better, not because they discovered a trick, because they reclaimed something, their attention. And maybe that is the real work in this season of your life. Not becoming more impressive, becoming less interruptible. Imagine what would happen if your mind stopped being public property. If every app, every platform, every random urgency no longer had automatic access to your inner world. Imagine sitting with one task long enough to actually enter it, long enough to wrestle with it, long enough to get through the first layer of resistance and into real clarity. Most people do not know what their mind is capable of because they never stay with anything long enough to find out. They quit in the first wave of discomfort. They check out in the first quiet stretch. They reach for stimulation the second things become mentally demanding. So they never reach depth. And depth is where your real work lives. Not on the surface, not in scattered effort, not in divided attention. Depth, that is where your best ideas are, your strongest writing, your clearest thinking, your most mature decisions, your deepest healing, your real voice. But depth charges a price. Attention, undivided attention. And many people are paying for shallow living because they have never learned how to protect that. So how do you change it? Not by hating technology, not by pretending the world is quieter than it is, and not by waiting until life becomes less distracting. You change it by building borders, by deciding that your mind is too valuable to remain completely open all day. You do not need to disappear from the world, but you do need moments when the world loses access to you, moments where you are unreachable on purpose, moments where your attention is not available to random demands, moments where you can think without being pulled apart. Those moments will feel strange at first. Of course they will. Anything unfamiliar feels strange before it feels powerful. But stay there, because on the other side of that discomfort is a version of you that remembers how to think deeply, how to work honestly, how to create with force, how to pray without mental static, how to read without twitching for your phone every few minutes, how to stay. That word matters. Stay, because maybe the greatest loss of this age is not information overload. It is the loss of our ability to stay. Stay with the task. Stay with the process. Stay with the thought. Stay with the discomfort. Stay with our own life long enough to shape it. And once you regain that, you start becoming dangerous in the best way. You become difficult to manipulate, difficult to rush, difficult to emotionally scatter, difficult to pull into trivial things. You stop living at the mercy of every blinking demand. And that gives you an edge, not just over other people, over your old self, the distracted self, the scattered self, the reactive self. The self that confused movement with progress and stimulation with meaning. That self does not have to keep running your life, but replacing it will require a decision, a serious one, a decision to stop treating your attention casually, a decision to stop offering your mind to anything that asks for it, a decision to stop living as if focus is optional, a decision to stop acting like your best work can be built in fragments, because it cannot. A fragmented mind may survive, but it rarely creates legacy. And you are not built only to survive. You are built to shape something, to carry vision, to build substance, to leave order where there was once drift. That kind of life demands attention. So here is the question. Who has been training your mind lately? Your values, or your notifications, your calling, or your cravings, your purpose, or your interruptions? Answer that honestly, and you will understand a lot about the life you are currently creating. And once you see it, do not just feel bad about it. Change your environment. Protect your morning. Protect your first hour. Protect your deep work. Protect your silence. Protect your mind from constant trespassing. Because the future belongs in many ways to the people who can still concentrate. The people who can still think clearly in a noisy age. The people who can still stay with difficult things. The people who do not surrender their attention cheaply. Be one of them. Not for image. For freedom. Because a reclaimed mind becomes a reclaimed life. And once your mind is no longer being harvested by everything around you, you will notice something powerful. Your thoughts get stronger. Your peace gets deeper. Your work gets sharper. Your life gets more deliberate. Not overnight, but undeniably. And that is the shift. Not just becoming motivated, becoming unfragmented. Not just becoming disciplined, becoming internally defended. Not just becoming productive, becoming present enough to build something real. So let this be your line in the sand. My mind is not available to everything anymore. My attention is not cheap. My peace is not public property. My future will not be built out of constant reaction. I will not let a distracted world train me into a distracted person. I choose depth. I choose focus. I choose to reclaim the part of myself that can still stay with what matters. And from that place, a different life can be built, one clear hour at a time.